Howdy, good to see ya. Alrighty, guys, we are at 8 o'clock, so that means it's showtime. Really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for coming, guys, and welcome to Beaver Politics. And it's Wednesday, so you're here with me, the Progressive Moose, on the Mossy Side with the Moose, where I do my best to break down the nitty gritty, give you the best factual information that I can, um, and hopefully give you a better understanding as to some information. Where that's what I'm about, trying to spread fact and make sure people have a better understanding. Might not always agree with somebody, but in most cases, you can find a bridge and actually agree and work outwards from there. So keep that in mind when you're talking about politics moving forward, because there's always some sort of agreement you can come to. And that's the biggest thing you got to do. Guys, again, you are here with me, the Progressive Moose. Just a couple of housekeeping things. Don't forget that we do have the live goals, so if you feel compelled, we really appreciate everything. We can't do it without you. We are for the people, by the people, of the people. And we don't care about decorum and we don't care about party lines. We call things as they are and we hold truth to power. That's what Beaver Politics is about. We really appreciate everyone's love and support. Can't do it without you, and we love bolstering your voices because at the end of the day, it's about all of us and seeing the change we need to see here in Canada for the people moving forward. So, that being said, again, we've got the gift goals, we've got that little gold oranges heart up there, guys. Become part of the team moving forward. Just give that heart a little tap there and be a part of the team and be a part of a positive movement that we're all being a part of. Really appreciate it. We also have a Discord, so find us over on Discord. Be a part of the conversation there as well. And one last thing, we do post our lives on YouTube. Same name, Beaver Politics. So if you miss a show, don't worry. Head on over to Beaver Politics on YouTube, follow us there, and you can get the live recap, essentially, the live recording. You can watch the whole thing. It's right there at your fingertips. Why haven't you followed us over there yet? Get over there after the show, though, okay? Hold on until I'm done. All right. Sorry, guys. So, all that being said, let's jump into things. And one thing I do want to start off with um, is right now the difference we've seen in the polls since Mark Carney has taken the leadership of the Liberal Party and been able to say a bit more within his premise as Prime Minister and do some things already. So Carney led Liberals 42% at this point and are expanding their lead over the Conservatives, which are down to 36%. So, guys, this is fantastic. Um, Solely because, I mean, the conservatives' support is dropping massively, and there's a hell of a lot of different reasons as to why. But with Mark Carney now being the leader of the or not the conservative, but the Liberal Party, it really has created momentum on the Liberal side, um, as well as. Let's be honest, Mark Carney has really kind of bridged a gap with conservatives because he's doing a lot of stuff um, he's about taking care of the economy and moving forward, making sure strong stance against the U.S. as well as bolstering our own economy. Which part of that is breaking down provincial barriers when it comes to trade. One thing that I've seen Mark Carney say already is essentially changing, bringing all the provinces together, having all separate economies, but having it all just come together as one, right? On a united economy, and that's what we need. So I fully agree with him on that aspect of things. Um, he has brought down government really in terms of numbers, right? He's brought down the amount of people that are in caucus. Um, it was up in 30s. Now I believe it's low 20s, mid 20s. So he's cut some fat that way as well. Um, which again was something that conservatives have been talking about forever in terms of cutting the fat, so to speak, when it comes to government, smaller government, yada, yada, yada. Um, although there is some nuance in there because when the conservatives say it, they're meaning get rid of government jobs. They're not meaning cut down how many MPs or how big cabinet is, right? So keep that in mind as well. But I mean, it's still they're bringing down kind of the size of government. So why aren't the conservatives happy on that? Um, yeah, as well, guys, on the carbon tax stuff, okay? I want to be clear here because there's a lot of stuff going around as to how that's actually working. So the carbon tax is still there, it's still a thing. Where the difference is that they've taken the consumer aspect of the carbon tax and put that to zero, right? So there's no percentage of carbon tax being charged at this point on the consumer level. Um, Carbon tax is still there for the largest polluters, which is corporations and companies, right? That's the biggest thing. So the carbon tax is still there and it's still going to be within legislation. It's just the carbon, or sorry, the consumer aspect is set in the system at zero. So nobody on the consumer level is paying the carbon tax. Um, and conservatives will push back on that and say, well, the companies and corporations are going to pass that along to consumers. Absolutely. And I don't disagree with that. And I think it's BS. It shouldn't happen. But you're right, it's going to happen. But that's not a government problem. That's a capitalist problem, right? Companies that are making record profits shouldn't be worried about the little bit of carbon tax that's going to cut into that profit, right? So why pass it along to us? They're still going to be making record profits once they pay their damn carbon tax, right? Um, so yeah, keep that in mind. And I did, while we're talking about it, I did want to talk about the conservative pushback from Pierre Poilievre during his press conferences the last couple of days has been absurd. Okay. I watched comments that he's made during press conferences saying that this is now going to be a shadow tax, that he's getting rid of the consumer aspect and the election's going to happen. He's using it to bolster the Liberal Party in the election. No, that's not a thing. Okay. And then he immediately went to, and then they're going to raise it 300%. Okay, so if they're going to raise it 300%, what's 3%? What's 300% on zero? Oh, zero. Um, yeah, just nonsensical talking points that we hear coming out of the conservatives at this point. And I'm sorry, but I'm just tired of hearing all the nonsense, and that's what it is because it does not make sense. He Pierre Poilievre again is talking about, oh, the Trudeau Carney liberals. Well, no, like Carney just became a liberal. He was an advisor in the past to liberals, but he was also an advisor to conservatives while they were the government under Harper, right? So, I mean, you gotta use full context here, and that's all he's ever been. As well, there's been the conservative pushback in terms of conflict of interest when it comes to his assets and investments, all that sort of stuff. He's followed what he's supposed to do. Okay, he's put them in a blind trust, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, what it's called, like he's supposed to. And again, like I'll bolster the point because I've heard it all over the place. Once he does that, he can't then go and tell you exactly what his assets are because those are going to change. And because they're in a blind trust, he's not allowed to know that information. That's the whole point of a blind trust, right? And the conservatives know this. It's a bullshit talking point. Pardon my language. But it just truly is. Like, it's just nonsense, okay? Um, yeah, so all that being said, Carney is really like boots on the ground. He's already gone over to Europe, spoke with numerous different world leaders, and really been working to, bolster trade, diversify trade more, which is a big portion of, I think, what his goal has been going abroad, as well as, um, bolstering things with agreements we already have and alliances we already have, um, especially when it comes to green legislation, I'll call it, and just different agreements we have in terms of climate change and all that sort of stuff. Sorry. But yeah, so, and that's the biggest thing. And to be clear, so I'm going to go back to Polyev for a minute here, because Polyev, and I made a video about this on my main account, guys. Watch what they said as soon as Mark Carney got rid of the consumer aspect of the carbon tax. I made a video stating, watch what the conservatives say, because it'll tell you where they actually put their loyalty or how they've been looking at this sort of stuff, right? Because as soon as that happened, what did Pierre pivot to, right? He then, like, oh, we need to get rid of the corporate tax on corporations, essentially, is what he's saying. Why? Corporations aren't people. People are people. The consumer tax, carbon tax is gone, right? So we've already taken care of the people. Why do we give a damn about the corporations, right? It's not the corporations that they're working for, it's the people, and the people are taken care of, right? So just bolsters that, because he's still going on about the carbon tax. And let's be clear, okay? Anyone paying attention knows when it comes to the carbon tax, we have to have some sort of carbon pricing to do global trade at this point, because the vast majority of countries we trade with require there to be carbon pricing of some sort. And if there isn't, those countries will then essentially tariff us in replacement of carbon pricing, right? So we might as well do it ourselves and not incur tariffs from other countries because we refuse to do it ourselves, right? So Polyev really needs to give more context on why we can't go without the carbon pricing at this point. Um, Trump train coming through, choo choo. Yeah, well, Trump can keep riding that train all the way to the north and just not come back. That'd be great. Sorry, I squirreled out there, guys, on that comment. So, yeah, so that's essentially what we're looking at, on the federal level. The conservatives are really just they're circling the drain at this point under Polyev, right? Because they can't get messaging on point, especially, and this is the greatest thing. Okay, I wanted to talk about this aspect in terms of Donald Trump now kind of weighing in. I'm loving it because it's a circus, in a way, is how I'm looking at it right now, right? Because Donald Trump came out and made the comment in terms of he wants to deal with a liberal, or he'd prefer to deal with liberals other, and not the conservatives. So here's one thing, and I know I'm not the first one to point this out because I've already seen other people point it out, so I'm not taking credit for it. But the fact is, you're fracturing the conservative base at that point, is what Trump's doing. Because remember, the ones that are all for Canada becoming the 51st state and all of Trump's nonsense are far right conservative voters, right? So, regardless of how Trump said it or what he said on other things, because I realize he has said on other interviews already that he would be more than happy to work with a conservative government. Okay. I think what it was a failed attempt at Trump trying to bolster the conservatives, but the way he did it just came off the wrong way, and it really just messes with things, in that sense. So, really, we're going to see some fracturing, in my opinion, and just let them infight, right? Let the Maple Mega and let the conservatives infight on it, right? We're trying to bolster on the left and we're trying to stand united at this point. Let them fracture some more. Let them, for lack of better words, shoot themselves in the foot. Okay. We've seen it before, not to this degree, but we have seen it before. And I mean, the left is still pulling together from being a bit more divided and not being able to, come together in a way that would be more productive. And that's what we're trying to do here on Beaver Politics, along with other creators and along with other people that are just, it's time for us to all come together and do it together. Because if we don't, then we can't push forward, and we're no better than the conservatives who are infighting all the time, right? So we just got to try and take the higher ground on that. Okay. Um, just a quick point, guys. Before I continue, remember keep tapping that screen, guys. Tapping is clapping, and we really appreciate all the support. We really do. We can't do the show without you. And again, guys, we are by the people, from the people, for the people. And that's what Beaver Politics is about, is bringing all the voices together and battling what we need to see for change on a united front. That's our goal. That's our mission. And we can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much for all the support. As well, guys, we do have the live gift goals. And don't forget to share out the stream. Let people know we're here. Let them come and be a part of the conversation, whether it be up here with me or down in the comments. Um, and again, that being said, I'm more than happy to have people come up if you would like to add to the conversation or the topic at hand. I'd love to hear other voices and what they have to say on the matters we talk about here on the Mossy Side. So, by all means, I'm always open to having people come up and join me. So, that housekeeping quickly out of the way. Thank you so much. Thank you. I believe as well, guys, I want to point out that Mark Carney, or sorry, Prime Minister Carney, it's going to take me a little bit to get used to that, but I'll get it. So, Prime Minister Carney, thank you so much, guys. We reached that goal. Thank you. Prime Minister Carney is scheduled, by the sounds of it, to meet with the premiers across Canada on Friday. Um, Sources from Carney's inner circle, and I believe, yeah, Doug Ford made comments detailing that there was going to be a meeting, so that'll be coming up on Friday. So we'll see what happens, see if we can still have the United Canadian Front, as they've been calling it, under Mark Carney. Um, I predict that we will. You're still going to have the loose cannons like Danielle Smith over in Alberta. Um, as much as Doug Ford's a loose cannon, right? Like he's been kind of pulling off and doing his own thing and not being a united front. He is doing let's bring it home, let's, you know, Canada first, all that stuff. But he hasn't really been playing nice in terms of a united front. Um, Confused mob boss Doug Ford, absolutely, I'll agree with that. Mo and Houston are weak links too. Yeah, absolutely. Um, you're absolutely right on that, Tree Bird. Thank you. Essentially, the conservatives that have the majorities on the provincial level at this point are weak links. And we've seen it through all the different things that they've said in terms of interprovincial trade policy, where essentially they want the exact same policy in other provinces, or they won't deal with the trade aspect with those provinces, pretty kind of one-sided and not willing to work with others. Um, so as much as they're sitting there touting that they're working on that stuff, it's really being counterproductive because it's not being united. It's just saying like, hey, we're going to do things our way, and if you don't like it, we're not working with you. How dare you? Raw. Conservatives and their finger wagging. Yeah, so that's what we're seeing right now, guys, in terms of federal politics. Um, there's been a lot of sentiment, guys, really, when it comes to Canada being united across Canada, Canadians especially, us, the people, um, have been pretty productive in terms of shifting our spending habits, what we're spending stuff on. Um, you like that, did you? Um, yeah, so it really, guys, it's fantastic. And of course, you're going to have, and I've been pointing this out, and I want to say it on here because it really just blows my mind. Again, coming back to kind of conservative, hypocrite, how hypocritical conservatives can be. Again, guys, and you've probably heard me say it before, but I'm going to repeat myself. We had a group called the Trucker Convoy that were supposed to be the most patriotic motherfuckers in Canada. Now, where the hell are they when there's actually a threat to Canada? Right? Like, not a peep. Hello, convoy. We're here. We're standing up for Canada. Where the fuck are you guys? Pardon my language, but I mean, come on. This is this is the sort of stuff where it's like this is the conservative hypocrisy, right? When the rest of the country is united, they've got to be off in their own little corner, right? Just like they were the only ones off in their corner during the convoy, they're the only ones off in their own little corner while the rest of us are staking up for the country. And, a patriotic kind of movement has been going on, and their heads are buried in the sand because we need to be the 51st state. That's how they think, right? That's where the convoy is. They want to become a part of America. Wait, you guys were the patriotic ones. Why do you want to join another country? Like, honestly, guys, I'm sorry, but if there's anyone here that is a conservative convoy supporter, please make it make sense. Explain it in a way that is going to make sense. And I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to because it doesn't, right? You just got to be the outliers. You got to be the rebellious ones that go against the grain. That's what we're supporting what Russia did when they first started invading Ukraine. That's why they support Israel's government and military and what they've been doing to Gaza, right? It's all contrarian. It's all, oh, we're on the right side. No, you're not. Come on, guys. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant. I don't mean to do that live, but um, yeah. So that's our political climate. They are talking about an early election still, guys, and there's been things Carney has said that would allude to there being an early election. So they're saying within days, probably a couple weeks max, of an election being called one way or another. So you know, time to get the boots on the ground and start putting out the information and bolstering your politicians, the ones that you want to support, the ones that you want to throw momentum behind. It's really time to do it, and all the parties are actually at this point gearing up for an election. um, Back to Polyev. I'm on the show here, but in my area, Polyev is actually in my area, Northern Ontario, right now, doing a rally. Thank you so much, guys. And I did tune in quick before I came live because I wanted to see some of the stuff that was coming out of his mouth, um, just so I can keep up on the nonsense, right? Um, and one thing that really kind of struck a chord with me, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. He talked about how he wants to build a more northern military base, which I wouldn't oppose, given that there's threats coming from other countries like Russia, especially when it comes to the northern corridor. Okay, and has a lot to do with trade, has a lot to do with Russia trying to expand their borders to get closer to that northern corridor because it's going to become a trading powerhouse in terms of a route for countries to do trade. It's going to cut time off, uh, how long it takes ships to get across to different countries. Instead of going more south, they can just right across, sort of thing, right? Um, so keep that in mind. But anyway, so he's talking about doing, northern military bases, which I don't have pushback on. I think is a good idea. But where it kind of struck a chord with me was he talked about the military and the Inuit working together, and what was the word he used? I hate to have a brain fart in terms of the word that he used, but essentially it was like, if we can, it wasn't amalgamate, but that's essentially what I'm chalking it up to, right? Because he's like, oh, if we can amalgamate with them up in their land, and they can teach us, their hundreds and hundreds of years of experience and knowledge, and maybe they can join the Canadian Rangers and amalgamate into the Rangers, sort of thing. And I was kind of like, no, like, motherfucker, they got their own thing up there. Leave them alone. Don't amalgamate shit. Okay? That's their land. Let them do how they do. And don't expect them to do anything other than that. Okay? Don't like try to get them to fold into the military. That's literally like the opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to be bolstering their way of life, bolstering their traditions, bolstering how they do things on their land. Okay. Um, but yeah, no. So like there is some stuff that fine. Like we need that in the north in terms of the military presence, I believe, right? But I mean, not to the extent of what he's saying at that point. Um, yeah, and you know what, Carney has been doing a fantastic job when it comes to not giving Polyev really pushback, right? Like he has, and I've loved some of his comments that he's made, but like he hasn't focused on Polyev, right? It hasn't been a attack on Polyev at all at a press conference, or there hasn't been really. I mean, if there's new attack ads out, I haven't seen them. Um, he's really just been focused on bolstering trade with other countries, figuring out this tariff nonsense, moving forward to boost the economy and get it to where he envisions it should be, right? And keeping the economy pumping forward during this tariff time and through this hard time that we're seeing with the United States and trade. Um, and even some people are saying they don't have a mandate. That's their mandate right there, right? Like if they call the election, that's their mandate. That's come on. Like we all know that's the mandate, conservatives. Give it up. Sorry, I guess I'm feisty today, guys. I apologize. I don't know what's got me so feisty today, but um, just pretty much ranting to you guys on camera. So hopefully it's going all right. It's not it's not rambles. Um, yeah, what else do we got? Like there's so much, you guys. So much. Anyone else's brain turned to mush? um, yeah. So in terms of other stuff, trying to remember exactly at this point everything else going on. You have to bear with me. I know I had some dental stuff done earlier today too, so that's not helping kind of how my brain's working in thought processes. But if if the liberals keep up the push and the bolstering and support, there's a good chance when they go to an election that we might actually see a majority liberal government. And I want to be very clear on this, guys. I am a NDP voter for the majority of my time voting. And of course, I have to look at our local candidates, right? And that's how we are supposed to look at it in terms of you vote for your local candidates in your local riding. So of course, I have to see the NDP representative for my riding has said that she will not run again. So the NDP is putting up a new candidate in my riding. So I have to wait to see, once the platform comes out, who our who the candidate is and see how it aligns with me. And that's the biggest thing that I tell people. You need to find the party that aligns best with you, right? On your local level, because that is your representative that then goes to parliament and speaks on your behalf, right? It is good to pay attention to the leaders because, I mean, you see right now the liberals are really kind of becoming more united than what they were under Justin Trudeau already with Mark Carney. So I mean, they're all kind of toe the line in that sense, right? They're going to stand behind their leader and should mostly have um, the same moral standings, the same viewpoints on different uh, policy and change that needs to be brought up. Um, but I mean, always use nuance in that, of course. Um, and when saying that as well, guys, remember there is smartvoting.ca. I will always bolster smartvoting.ca. And at this point, we used it in the Ontario election. It was up and going, and we'll be going for the federal election, up and going for the federal election. So, guys, remember that once they do call it, it's smartvoting.ca. If you plan on voting strategically, of course, so keep that in mind. Um, yeah, and that's another avenue, right? You need to keep in mind is sometimes, you know, again, I'm somebody that tries to look at a whole picture, and there's going to be ridings where strategic voting absolutely is going to make a difference. Happy, yeah, absolutely. Just vote. Um, I'll absolutely bolster that. Just go out and vote, regardless of who you vote for. The system works better the more people that more voices represented through the election because you voted, right? So go out and vote. Vote, 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 vote. They haven't called it yet, but it's coming. Absolutely coming. I am going to cover a bit of world news, guys, because it is related to Canada in a lot of ways when you start talking about globally, because we do have a stance on things as a country, as a nation, and as a people. So, Gaza, Israeli forces have started to bombard Gaza once again. Can we just put a stop to the needless loss of life? And I say this to anyone out there that is okay with bombing Gaza. Like, there's absolutely no need for it at this point, guys. And as Canadians and as Canada, we need to stand against this nonsense. Okay? I'm done. I'm tired of it. And I hate to bring Trump into this, but I'm going to. Where the hell is Trump, right? Did he not say even before he took office that these conflicts would be done, right? That was his words, not mine. Trump's words. He said that he would put an end to the conflicts, both the Russian invasion and what we're seeing in Gaza before he took office, and he didn't. And he still hasn't. Fake words, absolutely Zen. No, I'm not about to start crying. I'm just sick and tired of this nonsense. I'm sick of the needless loss of life. Okay? And even if I was about to cry, why aren't you? Right? Why aren't you crying for the tens of thousands of innocent lives gone because of what's happened in Israel, or what the Israeli government and military are doing in Gaza, right? How come you're not pissed off about the needless loss of life because of Russian actions invading Ukraine, right? Like all this lost life, and you're gonna sit there and oh, you're almost in tears, bud. Why aren't you? Why aren't all conservatives? Why isn't everyone? It's more complex, and it can be more complex, but in the grand scheme of things, like, none of this needs to be happening, right? And as Canadians, we need to stand against this crap. We need to have a united voice, like we have seen from our government, right? In the past already, during all this stuff going on overseas, speaking out against the nonsense, speaking out against the loss of life for really no damn reason other than power grabs, right? That's all it is. It's trying to consolidate power. It's trying to, and I realize the implications of that, okay? There are things that are happening where it's absolutely like, um, genocide in a lot of ways. And God, um, yeah. So Israel has stepped up its attacks on Gaza. Trump ain't gonna do a damn thing about it, like he said he would. I'm sure everyone has tuned in and heard him during, um, press conferences talking about how he wants to make it like a, Christ, I can't even remember the wording, but essentially like a strip, hotel strip, make it luxurious, pretty much make they want to flatten it, get rid of everybody that lives there, and make it like a rich, luxurious getaway. That's not going to happen, guys. And many countries have come out and spoken against it. Certain countries that he actually said would, take refugees from Gaza and yada 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 came out and said, no, we're not going to do that. And if that's your plan, we're going to push back on you, and we are going to essentially not allow you to do this. Um, so it's great to see that pushback on a global scale. Canada as well has been against what's happening in their comments and statements, but guys, we still, in roundabout ways, have been helping Israel, by providing resources, and we need to call out our government for still doing such things in the name of Canada, even though they've all said they condemn what's going on. We still provide things. So as a country, we're not innocent. And it was the NDP and Singh that pointed that out already quite a while ago. Um, and tried to put a stop to it. Uh, there was legislation and policy being put in place, but it got watered down to the point where it's like, okay, we're not giving them direct armaments, but we are still giving them supportive aid, um, in that sense. So we're still doing it. If I was PM, I would back Egypt in to invade and leave NORAD. If USA opposed it, Russia, US. Yeah, I don't follow enough, so I don't want to speak too much in terms of specific countries, but I know there have been quite a few that have pushed back and said, "Listen, like, if you guys are going to go ahead and do this stuff, we're not going to allow it. We're not going to allow you to keep up the nonsense, right?" Um, yeah, and in terms of Russia, guys, Canada stands with Ukraine. That's not going to change under Carney. As much as the conservative politicians would love to see that come to an end, it's not going to. Carney's pretty gung ho in making sure that we stand for peace, we stand for freedom, we stand for sovereign nations, which Ukraine is one. So we're still going to stand with them and oppose Russia. Absolutely. Um, yeah, guys, we're at 8:40, so I just want to take a minute here, remind you that tapping is clapping, guys, and sharing is caring. I really appreciate all the shares that have been sent out. I saw the line of them there, guys. I see it all. So thank you so much. Again, keep tapping, guys. Let's get those numbers up. We're at 21K. I got 19 minutes until 9 o'clock here. So I want to see that 21 get up to 30 by the end of the live, guys. So start rage tapping. Let's get that like number up to 30K. Really appreciate it. You guys have hit the live goals. You guys are fantastic. Really appreciate it all, guys. Um, just gonna say, like, again, we really appreciate it. We can't do it without you. We are here, it's Beaver Politics, but we are of the people, for the people, and by the people. And we can't do it without you because all together we are a united voice looking for and seeking the change that we need for us, the people, as a united front, as Canadians, as people that want basic human needs for everyone met. That's who we are. And that's what we look to do. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate all the love. Consider subscribing. Uh, the option there is to subscribe. You do get access to. Mwah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Um, yeah, we really we we do private streams from time to time, so you get access to that, as well as different emojis and stuff that we have set up through our Beaver Politics account for you guys as a thank you for your contribution if you do decide to subscribe. So don't forget about that option as well. Yeah. So, guys, we got 18 minutes. Sean, there you go. See, look, Sean's showing you some of them right there. Thank you, Sean, for highlighting those. Really appreciate it. Um, yeah. So, moving forward, guys, I want to hear from you guys, and I'll read the comments. If you want to come up, be a part of this conversation. At this point, and of course, like the polls, how support kind of lays out changes from at this point day to day, right? The Liberals have been on an ever increasing kind of push for support in the polls as the Conservatives are dropping. And let's be real, unfortunately, the NDP are dropping as well in the polls. So, I hate to see that for them. Um, Full context. Mana, mana. Hey, PG, good to see ya. But yeah, guys, send a request to come up, and I want to hear your thoughts moving forward at this point. How you think things are going to play out in the election? What kind of things do you think we're going to see? Whether you think maybe a minority liberal government, if you still feel conservatives will end up making up government. I want to hear it. And I'll also read, if nobody does want to come up, I'll read the comments because I'm truly curious and want to know if anyone has a different point of view. Um, but I really feel like we're in for, at this point, the way the momentum's going, another liberal um, government on the federal level, which I'm okay with. Okay, like the youth vote is key. Absolutely, the youth vote is key, and we're actually seeing where millennials really, like, they are turning out, but they're not. They're getting tired of it, right? And they're turning away from voting. They're turning away from the polls because at the end of the day, no matter who has been getting in, there has been enough change, right? There's still, at this point, being pushed out of the housing market so they can't own their own home, right? That's a dream that's gone for a vast majority of millennials at this point. Um, and it doesn't matter who's in power, that's just reality, right? Um, Especially when you see different governments promising change and promising to make things better. But at the end of the day, when you've had both and neither one has done anything to make it better, they're just tired of hearing it. Uh, the misses, what do you think of Trump's support of the liberals versus our tiny Trump? Um, Trump Trump is a wild card, and I did talk about this earlier, and it's a great question. So Trump has made the comments that he rather work with a liberal government, but he has also been on other interviews saying that he would love to work with a conservative led government of Canada as well. So it's Trump. He to me, it's him talking out his ass, just trying to stir the pot and see how much he can have an effect on what's kind of going on up here north of the border politically. Um, just trying to be relevant in the conversation, and he knows there's that little sect of people that are the Maple Mega that support him and cling on to every word. And, he's got to put his 2 cents in because he's got his Maple Mega supporters, right? Um, that's my opinion. Yeah, it could very well have been a ploy to try and get Pierre elected. Um, it really didn't turn out. If that's what they were hoping for, it really backfired, I think, at this point. Um, because yeah, again, you have that sect of the conservatives that are the quote unquote Maple Mega that you know cling on to his every word, and they're going to be conflicted with themselves, right? Because if they only saw him essentially quote unquote endorsing the liberals, how are they going to reconcile that within themselves? Like the Maple Mega, right? They're going to be battling it out in their minds at this point. Like they've got to be foaming at the mouth. Like, what did Trump say? He said to, support the liberals, and they're just like foams coming down their face, and they're just going into a seizure because it doesn't compute for them. No, Pierre Poilievre as well, I believe, under my understanding, has gotten the quote unquote endorsement um, from Elon Musk and Trump in the past, right? So it's I think Trump just pandering to keep his name in the Canadian kind of news cycle relevant, uh, away from his tariff nonsense, of course. Kind of see if he can distract a little bit. There's multi avenues. Oh, is it gonna work?
What?
PG, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, good. You know
There you
that
go.
Trump said that he could work with the liberals after everybody has heard them, after everybody's heard uh, where the liberals are more like Trump, right? Like, not sure how else to say that. He was not the
Yeah,
author
no,
of
there's
that. He
there's
is not the author of that. He's totally a follower in all of this. Like he's heard that rhetoric saying, "Oh, the liberals would be better," and then he's
Mhm.
running with it, right? Like that's not coming from him, and then so forth. Like we heard it
Oh
from the
no, I
bots first before we heard it from him.
No, and I realize that, and that's where again it's just kind of Trump just trying to be relevant, right? Whatever kind of suits, like, oh, I'm going to say this so I can stay relevant. That's what's online. Okay, that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
So absolutely, Scott, did you want to chime in?
Uh,
About what Trump's doing,
Yeah.
uh, it's crazy. Like the people that are in my world, um, are veterans and conservative, and they see a totally different ecosystem than we do, and it's crazy. Like so, it's scary. Really, it scares me how the ecosystem of news and everything, and they're just
So
it
what
freaks
they're
me out.
seeing is different than what we're seeing. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, and they don't even see what Trump is doing. They don't even. It's not even in their thought process of what all the stuff that's going down because they don't see it. It's not in the news cycle in their world.
Yeah.
Um, and even the stuff what they do see is very manufactured, you know,
Yeah.
from the stuff with Carney with that guy with the island, all those manufactured stuff. Like it's if I talk, I have to be careful because I don't want to alienate everybody. Like
Yep.
in my group, um, so I just talk about what try to give them perspective. Like for instance, with regards to how Carney became PM, you know, I just gave him examples, and I tried not to, but it's hard. It's hard to communicate when you there is that.
Because you're trying to appease them, right?
Well,
You're
no, I
trying to
just try
not
to
make them feel
inform
bad,
them.
which they
Give
deserve to feel
them
bad.
No, I
You're-
try to give them the information. I do not put myself out there and say this is right or wrong because I agree. And I said a lot of times it's just how we get there. You know, we all agree that this is wrong, but it's the process of getting there and how we should do it. But so there's a lot of agreement that way, but it's all the conspiracy stuff that's out there.
Yep.
Holy cripes!
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I talked about beginning of the show the kind of conspiracy now of the whole shadow carbon tax. Da da da
Oh,
da da da. Um,
oh, exactly. That's what I was. That one came up recently, and I just, oh my god.
yeah, no, and Pierre Poilievre mentioned this whole shadow carbon tax in a press conference like multiple times now, and it's like, guys, this is nonsense. And this is where, like, for me, I'm tired of having the same conversations with people that don't understand the bare minimum to be a part of the conversation. And
Yeah,
I honestly feel at this point, like, yes, it's good to have the discourse and it's good to try and help people understand better. I will always try to do that. But when it comes to these nonsensical talking points we're hearing from the conservatives, whether it be the politicians or the voters,
hmm
like there's a line at this point where as soon as it's complete nonsense, you need to tell them to leave the conversation, learn a bit of civics and how our government works, and then come back to the conversation.
Well, I try to get. Well, I don't preach when I say. I just give
Mm.
examples, like with in regards to Carney, and the two examples were, you know, Kim Campbell and Daniel Smith, um, and they hear these things, but they different ecosystem, totally different. You know, and they just and it's hard to communicate.
Well, and
What do you
and
do?
that's where like and that's where PG. I mean, I think you've kind of gone through the same process, or at least I'm going to assume, and I apologize if I'm wrong. But that's where, for me, like if I'm having the same conversations with the exact same people and I've
Right?
done it 6 times and they still don't have the basic understanding of how the government works, whether it be how Mark Carney became prime minister,
Right?
and the whole, oh, how come he became prime minister? We didn't vote for his leadership in the Liberal Party. No, because you don't vote for your fucking opposition. Um, sorry, I apologize for my
Yeah.
language, but you know the stuff that is baked into how our government functions, but somehow they don't have a basic understanding of it.
Yeah.
right? And that's where, like, if I have to have the same conversation 5 times, I'm sorry, at that point, yes, go learn some civics and come back to the conversation. I'm not going to continue to platform or allow somebody to just keep going through the same cycle without improvement,
See,
if that
and
makes sense.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like even that stuff. Like I just think that they don't. I think Trump is an existential threat, and what they're doing, and they don't see it. And
Hmm.
it's,
But see, the difference between you and me, Scott, is I don't care that the people I talk to feel good about themselves, right? If they're spewing bullshit, I'm gonna tell them they're spewing bullshit. I'm not gonna coddle them at all. Like, you should feel bad, in my opinion. And you don't have to do what I'm doing, right? You can, you know, save your relationships with your friends. But for me, I'm good with cutting off people because they're fucking stupid, right? Like, and they are part of the existential threat, right? So these are people who will vote for the threat, and if they don't understand what they're doing, why do we need to let them get to the last straw before they realize, oh my god, I think I fucked up? Too late, man. We no longer have a constitution, right? Like, too late. That's my point. You can do
right.
whatever you want. Like, all of you guys can do whatever you want. I've cut out family and friends. I don't give a fuck. These people, like, they don't want to listen. They're done, right? Like, so so that's my take on it. You do whatever your take is on it, but I don't want to hear from anybody that I've cut off saying, "Oh my god, I made a mistake. Can I come back and be your friend?" Or, like, I want to come to your family reunion.
Yeah.
And fuck that. You're not coming.
Oh, I get that. I get that. It's just that there's just so many misconceptions out there, and
Hmm.
so like if I try to just give examples that way, it's to alleviate some, but it's
Yeah.
like just constant, nonstop. It's like everything. It's like they still believe that Zelensky has yachts. Like it's
Oh,
frustrating. I
hey,
just
if
find it.
that
I find it frustrating, and then sometimes I'll like if I get on these panels and I'll just let loose because I just like come on, slap
if
yourself in
anyone
the head.
if anyone knows if that original talking point when it came to the invasion of how, like, America had biological weapon labs in Ukraine, that's why uh Russia had to do what they did. Does anyone know if that talking point is still around? Because that to me was like, that's a classic. It's so wrong, but it's a classic at this point, right?
That
Uh
talking point is still around. That talking point started. Don't forget that country was part of the USSR in the past, right?
yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
there were some labs.
Sure,
Every
there were
conspiracy has a little bit of truth in it. So there were
Oh,
some labs,
absolutely.
right? And at the
absolutely.
end of the day, what ended up happening with the Budapest memorandum, and then there was another document in 2005 where they talked about the labs and helping, where the U.S. would come in and help them clean up whatever was dangerous within those labs, right? So that's the extent of the labs, right? And
Yes.
No, I know.
as if they're still building, like, they're still building these weapons, and it's like, no, that's not how it's working, right? Like,
Yeah.
so they voted out a Putin puppet government, put in and elected Zelensky,
Yeah.
and then they started making arrangements to clean out their corruption. They started making arrangements to clean out their labs, all that kind of stuff. They made it like all of that. There's a little bit of truth because some of those labs exist, except that they were working to clean it all up and get rid of whatever was dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm not an
Exactly.
expert on everything in labs, so
Yep.
don't quote me, right? But
No, but you're right, and that's where a lot of the issues lie, because all these different nonsensical talking points or conspiracies have truth sprinkled in there,
yeah,
but it's just
Exactly. Yeah.
like compiled with mostly nonsensical shit, but they put that little bit of truth in there to try and tie it in to make it seem more feasible.
yeah. Yeah. And they're pulling at all the straws right now. Like now they're saying, like when we were talking about how Trump would prefer a liberal government, give me a fucking break. As if he wants a liberal government. These guys have been spending decades complaining about the radical left.
Yeah.
Don't try to tell me that today all of a sudden he's like, I'd rather work with the liberals. Give me a fucking break. Like, get
And
your
the
head out of your ass,
Democrats are
guys.
probably
Right?
more.
Like, not you guys, but anybody who believes that. Like, get your head out of your ass. It's firmly planted in there, and you're believing everything that everybody's, like, everything that is being said to you. As long as it's owning the libs, you're good with it.
Yeah, the Democrats could run as a conservative party in Canada.
Yeah. And that's so I'm glad that you kind of brought in the comparison, PG and Scott, because that's where like a lot of ways we can look at American politics and Canadian politics and find the similarities, right? And that's where like under Joe Biden, um, kind of leadership, I guess, if you want to say that, or at least during his campaign, because I realize it's different than our system, right? But under his campaigns, and Trudeau, when you look at the two combined, both of them, like their messaging was garbage, right? They didn't know how to get a message to stick and give it momentum. And that's really an issue with the left in general when it comes to the politics and politicians. Um, is they can't get their messaging to stick, and that's where you're seeing right now, like the NDP has been dropping on the federal level the way they have, because as great as I think their messaging is, they can't get it to stick, and they can't separate themselves from working with the liberals, the way that they have, and flip flopping in the public eye, right?
Well, people are too much of simpletons, to be honest with you. Like, the messaging does absolutely suck. When you look at all the messaging, like, you look at messaging that people gravitate to, axe the tax. I get that. I understand that. Easy slogans to say, super easy. The mindless people pick it all up and fucking run with it. No problem. The message of defund the police gives you something that you actually have to think about, because it's not about taking money away from police. It's about reallocating funds. But defund doesn't mean reallocate. So they don't grasp it. So they hate it. And then
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Well, Black Lives also matter, right? Every child matters. Every child, of course, every child matters. But you know what? You guys aren't paying attention to these children that go missing and taken, right? So yeah, and the messaging just is always a target, right? It's always something that they can turn back on. And even people are saying, "Oh, I don't want an ally, I want an accomplice." Don't say that shit. Don't fucking say that shit.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you bringing that up? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You have one side that has messaging where people gravitate to, and one side where you have to actually think. And so they don't gravitate to it. They can't. They're not capable of it. And so now all of a sudden, our messaging sucks because it actually does. Like, it's fucking
Mhm.
I had
it's
a I had a conversation with a publisher. He wasn't a publisher at the time, but he was an ex-publisher of a newspaper, and he explained me that concept, how they write their newspapers and stuff like that. And we just back and forth. He said like certain newspapers write at a certain level of literacy. So like a something like a Sun newspaper would write at a say grade 9 level, and then something where it was more of a, and then it would work up to say a Wall Street Journal, which had somebody with a university higher education. And so when you look at the messaging, look at how the message is and who they're going to reach, how they're reaching it with that type of messaging. And that's who they're after.
Yeah, for the vast majority, I will agree with that. And there are other breakouts of that, right? Like myself, I will fully admit, like I definitely wouldn't say I've got the greatest level of education, but I mean, I know enough to know know the difference
No, I
between,
understand that.
yeah,
I know what you're saying. Like I don't either. I don't have a high formal education,
yeah,
but it's it's the acceptance of that. I guess some people stop when they're done school. That's it. They don't learn anything anymore. I'm a person that I never stop learning. I want to keep learning, and they're fine with what they know, and that's good, and they're happy that way, and that's fine. But
yeah. Like they're happy not taking the personal responsibility to further their knowledge on everyday.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah. Your actual level of education is irrelevant. To be honest with you, like, are you capable of distinguishing, like, whether or not something is fact or not? And if you're
I
not,
get
because I
that.
understand that there's a lot of people who are get duped right now, and easily, and there are a lot of people who the bullshit is so, like, they've got it down to a science, right? So you can easily dupe people who wouldn't normally be duped, right? So smart people are getting duped right now as well.
Sure, they are. They always have, but it's just
Yes.
how they're. It's the language that you use. It's like communication.
yeah.
Um,
It's
you
been
know
used through history. Like the Yahtzees did it, right? It's the
exactly.
same playbook. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a broader way of bringing
It's
that
like
message out
marketing.
though right now. Like it's
Yeah,
with the internet, like it's so much easier to just pop it out and everybody, like I said earlier, like everybody knew that talking point before Trump even said it.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
proof right there. Like he doesn't come up with the shit. Other
yeah,
people come up with that for him. And and I think that people need to realize, like, when they hear something, does it really make sense? Like if you just take a moment, stop and think about what it is that you're hearing, does it really make sense, right? And we can say whatever we want, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't make sense, like, doesn't make sense. Go to other sources and figure it out. Like, look at it
yeah.
and go, hey, even to question it, to be able to say, hey, does this make sense? What about the two yachts? Do they make sense?
Exactly.
We talked about a little bit of truth in everything, right? There were two warships that Ukraine was having built. Two yachts, maybe? Two warships. They were two warships. He's not getting two fucking yachts to party with, right? Like, he's getting two warships. They're being built, right? So
Yeah,
when you talk about two boats, it's so, like, make some sense. I
yeah.
hate people who say always, like, oh, it's common sense conservative. Well, then use it. If you want to use your
Exactly.
common sense, fucking use it. It's simple.
yeah,
Listen, I bought a framing nailer, okay, and I've used this example before. I don't know if I've used it on your show, but I've bought a framing nailer, and on the box there's a picture of a guy standing beside another guy kneeling. The framing nailer is on the other guy's head, and it says "Don't do this," right? So there's a circle with the bar.
yeah.
That means somebody did not use common sense and has done this in the past, right? So don't tell me all the blue collar people are common sense people. Somebody fucking did that.
Somebody at some point did it, and that's
Yeah.
why we can't have nice things. That's how I like to look at it, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chains on your trailer, right? The chains on your trailer, something super simple. There are two chains on on the tongue of every trailer. Why? Because some people didn't hook up their trailer well enough onto their hitch that it's fallen off, and now there's a law saying you have to have chains on your trailer in case
Yeah,
you didn't hook it up properly.
yeah,
Both my
Yeah.
trailers have it. Every trailer I've ever pulled has it, right? Like, so
yeah. Absolutely.
going up a ladder with your hand on the triggers at one point. Yeah, yeah, right? Like,
hmm
man, I just can't with people who, like, they associate what they do with common sense. And I'm like, dude, like, 18 wheelers get into accidents all the time. There are accidents. There's a reason why there are signs at job sites that say how many days since the last accident, because accidents happen. Like,
Yeah,
so, and that's why rules, regulations. That's why we have, hey, what are you doing? See you next Tuesday. What are we doing here? So that's why we have rules. It's to protect people. And then we have all the people going, oh, freedom, we shouldn't have all these rules. Yeah, we should. Yeah, because then
Yeah.
you're just going to make, a dangerous situation for everybody else.
There was something actually to that point. I can't remember exactly where it was, somewhere in the United States, where there used to be a slow roll, as they call it, of motorcycles that used to go through the city, and it was in protest of helmet laws, right? And it just so happened that somebody during said roll had an accident, went over their handlebars, and unfortunately did not survive because they took such a blow on impact to the ground.
Yeah.
And the people that showed up on scene, in terms of uh, medical help, had said he would have lived if he was wearing a helmet.
Yeah, 100%. There's no greater irony, right? Like,
Yeah,
so,
Yeah.
and in the 70s, people boycotted like wearing seat belts and
yeah.
stuff like that. It might have been the 60s. Anyway, it's whatever it was. I think it was the 70s because I don't think as a child I needed to wear a seat belt.
No,
I always did, but
I
it
didn't.
doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, now, today, the only way that you're allowed to not wear a seatbelt is if you have a car that was built without seatbelts, you're exempt.
Right.
Oh,
Unless you just
sorry.
don't
There
do
is
it. I
another
know
way.
people that don't use a seatbelt.
Yeah, there is another way, and I don't know if they've changed this law, but if you have a five-seater and you
Okay.
have six people, one of them doesn't need to wear a seatbelt.
Okay.
So, kind of a
I,
weird
I,
thing. It should
I
be
don't know. I still remember the old station wagon my dad had with the backward seat in the back.
yeah,
That
the
thing was bad.
rear-facing seats.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, those are pretty wild.
there
The
you go.
wagon?
Yeah, the old station wagons. Yeah, and his
Yeah.
actually had like the propane tank hookup on the back as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go, guys.
right, right. My parents beat me. I turned out fine. Yeah, okay, okay. You didn't. We know you didn't.
There you go, guys. All right, so I am over time. I appreciate both of you for coming up and being a part of the conversation. I really appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having us
Uh,
up. Sorry,
Thanks.
guys. That must be something I said.
Definitely not something you said. I'm just over time, so I'm ready to call it a night.
All right,
Uh,
I gotta keep
Have a good
pushing.
one.
Thanks,
you guys
everybody.
too.
Thanks, Nair.
There you go, guys. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. So I am over time. So I am gonna wrap it up now. It was a great conversation. I appreciate everyone that was involved, that came up onto the panel, as well as in the comments. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for all the love, guys. We hit 32.6K likes. You guys are fantastic. You hit that 30K. Really appreciate. I love you all. Yeah. So with all that being said, till next week, stay safe, stay sane, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and I'll see you next week. Have a good night, everyone.